Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Grappler Union podcast. On this episode, we have Alex Matusov in studio. Alex is the head coach of the Red Pretzel wrestling program at Evolution Strength and Conditioning. Enjoy.
I need the 6 minutes. That's what happens in that 6 minutes.
You told me using any technique that works. Never to limit myself to one style. Keep an open mind.
We're not here just to take part. We're here to take over.
In order to become more peaceful, in order for you to become better and strategize your life. And away we go.
All right.
All right, Javi.
Okay, let's do it then.
Yeah, let's do it. So, hey guys, me in studio, Zito sadly absent for this one, but we have Jason Bender has stepped up to take that position, just grasped it.
Four time on the fifth one. Is it like Saturday Night Live where I get like a robe?
Yeah. Actually,
Nice.
we have a special Grappler Union robe being printed up right now.
Paid for
Like a rash guard? Grappler Union a 5-timer rash guard?
Yeah, there we go. New records need to be set.
Nice.
And a belt.
Yeah, I need the belt.
A championship belt. There you go, man. That would be an awesome Grappler Union champion. We could pass it around
Maybe
amongst the
that's
regular
right.
cast.
Yeah.
There you go.
Maybe that's something a title I can actually get.
That's your goals.
And the fur hat, right?
Actually, speaking of, you guys are wearing. Does that say Red Pretzel?
Sure
It
does.
says, but a weird way, actually.
Okay.
It's like, it's the name of my club, actually.
Okay,
Like
what-
a wrestling club. And
Because you
It's-
wrap people in pretzels.
He sure
we
does.
would like to, but they're defending themselves. It's not always going well. But they've always been taken down, so.
Very nice. Very nice. So now I've known of you for a while. This is Alex Matusov. You've been a frequent feature in the conversation of the local grappling scene. I know you've taught at a bunch of different academies, done wrestling like clinics. Everyone speaks very highly of your ability. But this is actually my first time really meeting you. I think I want to say I saw you one time at the Redzovics.
You also met him. Yeah.
At the Sambo Championship, remember? I came to watch.
Yeah. Greg knows you. That's
Yeah.
So okay. Yes. I guess we did say Zito, edit that out.
Virtually, I know everybody. But I never spoke with them.
Right. So let's find out a little bit about you, man. So where does your interest in wrestling come from?
It's a
lifelong.
simple story like everybody else. Everybody started at age 10, right? And coach came to school. Hey, guys, who wants to wrestle? And like
Raise that
100
hand.
people just like came over and not too many left doing that.
So where was school?
It's back in Belarus. It's like a former Soviet Union republic.
Okay.
And it was, I would say, like 1979.
1979.
I was 10 back then.
There we go.
And coach, actually, he was one of my father's childhood friends.
Oh, that's cool. Did your father also wrestle?
No, I thought you're going to ask me the same question if I want to mention something like that. But he was more like after Second War street fighter. And he always wanted to me get to wrestling or some kind of stuff like that. But no any kicks or punches. It was like
Right. No boxing or-
Boxing was not in scene, so
Right.
I went down. And actually, I liked the sport, and I stick with it for so many years already.
Well, ever since Rocky IV, the Russians are no longer allowed to box.
Yeah, but Americans can play chess in Siberia. Right?
Touche.
So a lot of our guests and listeners know a lot about jiu-jitsu or other grappling arts. Not always a lot of understanding about wrestling. So there's, of course, two main styles of international wrestling, freestyle and Greco. You did freestyle?
I would say yes.
Okay.
Greco had a few tournaments, and actually in 88, I won like a national Belarusian championship. Army championship.
Oh, wow.
In the Greco, and I was second in freestyle in my main style.
I like how he's like all casual, like, not really Greco. I just have this one
because,
national.
Speaking of Army, I would say they're gonna. Everybody who can stand on their legs, they can compete. But it was like a higher level as like a final part of it.
Okay.
And so there's like, I wouldn't say best of the best, but really who can do it.
Right. No, that's. I mean,
They put me just to cover the hole in the weight category, and after all, I won it.
right. That's awesome.
Hey, get over there. You think you can do something? I'll try.
Yeah, I'll try.
I'll try.
And 2-3 months later was like a freestyle, and I lost in the final actually. So that was fine. Same year, no problem.
Right. No, that's actually pretty impressive.
For sure.
And speaking of my coach, he was like a universal guy. He taught us like, I would say about the grappling, everything possible. He tried to throw us in judo tournaments, some kind of samba tournaments, and whatever. His words was like, "What are we gonna do there?" He's like, "Don't worry, just wrestle there.
Right.
That's fine." And the judo rules was different back then.
Right. You can do leg
So we
grabs.
can
yeah.
get away with anything. And basically, in the first judo tournament, I lost in the final. I took the guy down, and he choked me with the gi, and like, I didn't know there was anything like that. Like,
You're like, you told me to just wrestle.
dude, what are you doing? Like, I tapped, but it was like, damn.
You're like, you mean I could have choked them this whole time?
right.
The favorite move was like arm, leg, duck and under with like a wasari throw. And 3 matches I end up doing twice every match, the same
Like
move.
fireman's carry?
I
Sort
would
of,
say
or-
kind of, but from
Okay.
underneath of the arm.
Okay.
Was good enough. And then I took the guy down. He choked me. And I'm like, okay, I'm done.
Still second place in a judo tournament. No
Didn't know the
actual
rules.
judo
Didn't
experience.
know that there were
Didn't even know the
submissions.
rules.
Wasn't that bad. I cannot complain.
Hey, you did better at your first judo tournament than I did at mine. So
For sure. I can ditto on that one.
yeah, I was like, I've been training in this for like 3 years. Let's compete. Oh, I suck at this.
Oh, man.
He's like, yeah, I don't know what's your problem. I mean, I took second place my first time.
Some samba I did back in army, like nobody forced me to do it. I mean, like not combat samba, sports samba.
Right.
And we had a guy in my battalion. He was a former sambo fighter and all the stuff. I mean, I was responsible for a gym, mini gym, and on the second floor we had the mats and was all set up. We had all the jackets, belts,
Right,
shoes,
right.
and whatever comes to play. So, and I won like a battalion championship, and I went further, but I wouldn't mention anything because the girls was on the first place before the sports, and I just like lost a couple of matches just to go because
Right.
it was actually in my city, and
There you go.
I didn't feel like going further.
I wish that was always my problem. I would keep winning, but
But it's
seems like a lot of work.
too much effort.
That's what it is.
By the way, a battalion is a very large group of soldiers. Just
Yeah,
so we know, just so folks go ahead and Google how big a battalion is.
Is a Russian battalion, but Belarusian battalion the same size?
That word came up in my mind. Actually,
Unit?
Unit, right?
Yeah,
I would
sure.
say unit. That's
Okay.
a simpler word.
Okay.
But actually, there was a battalion, and I would say battalion had like up to 11 units in it, and every unit was close to 3,000 people, would say.
Jesus.
But not all of them grapplers. That's
Right.
That's a
But still,
thing.
yeah.
But still, of the ones that were there.
Of the ones that are willing to even do this crazy stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
You cannot avoid army, so everybody been forced as a duty just to go there. And
Yeah. Everybody had to do
and
the
serve,
2 years, right?
Yeah. First 6 months, I was like shooting from the tanks.
Oh, wow.
Yes, actually, and like whatever left, 75% of it, I was responsible for a gym. Like I said, we had some weights, mats, basketball court, badminton court, and all kind of stuff like that.
Right. So, how long were you? So, from birth till what time did you come over here?
I was 24, 1993.
Okay. Wow. So, how did that? I'm bad with dates in general and history dates in particular. Like I can
like-
barely keep track of my own
Was it
anniversaries
26
and
years,
whatnot.
right?
But no, I was going to say. So when did Belarus is a former? So when did the split actually happen?
Soviet Union broke, and you can Google it.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm sure
that was
they
my
know-
answer
I'm
as well.
Sure, I'm sure they know more than I do.
But you came over.
As a refugee,
Okay, yeah. There we go. That's,
my uncle was here already with his family, and his intent was to bring his mother over,
okay.
and my mom as his sister. And by the time all the papers was ready, grandma died, and
Oh, I'm so sorry.
but no, it's
yeah, that's terrible timing, right?
yeah, but like
It's
everybody
difficult.
had the papers to go, so
Right.
Did you come straight to Chicago?
yes, because they live here, and probably they was an option, but you like switching everything from head to toe, and just like you want to have somebody who can say something.
For sure.
So that was the situation, actually.
Pretty cool. I mean,
And
interesting way to be introduced to Chicago.
one of the coaches from my city actually was here. He was a coach assistant in Glenbrook High School.
Oh, okay. So
And he took me over a few times, and then I had a break. Of course, I had to find a job and learn the language and all kind of chores and duties and stuff like that.
yeah, not the easiest transition
No,
to make.
it was like 6-7 years probably. I didn't do much.
Wow.
And then one of the guys, he opened like a Russian, I would say, gym in the Buffalo Grove.
Okay. Yeah.
Right at Dundee and the Buffalo Grove Road.
Is that
There was a Dominic's, and on the right side of it.
I'm trying to remember. Sambo guy?
No,
oh, okay.
no, just a random guy.
Okay. Sorry. There was
I don't even remember his name. There was a gymnastics, boxing, wrestling, and something else I forgot.
Right.
So he had like a full size of the wrestling mat, and whoever who can get from high schoolers, I mean like from Russian-speaking community.
Right, try to
And
bring them
that
all in.
Coach I mentioned, he just called me. He said, "Look, you know what? You should come over." And it's how it started.
Right.
And then they demolished the building. They need extra space for a parking lot or something. And we moved over to illegal Little Northwestern facility.
It's okay. Statute of limitations run out. We're fine.
Right.
And we spent a few years there, and then they finally kicked us out from there, and we moved to Evanston High School.
Okay.
And then was a what's the name of the gym in the Belmont? Quads.
Quads.
We used to roll the mats and just it was
Yeah,
like
work
a
out
Chicago
there.
wrestling club.
Right.
And then they kicked us out, and there was a
This is a common theme here, isn't it? At what point did they,
Mac the Knife place, right?
Yeah. Copa Jiu-Jitsu. Shout out.
So Copa was the first time you worked at a jiu-jitsu gym?
No.
Or you'd already worked
No, we
okay.
moved. And first ever jiu-jitsu experience I had with the janitor in Evanston High School.
Wait. Okay, back that up. Okay, how did that come about?
I mean, we were training, and I don't remember exactly. Maybe there was nobody else yet there to train with. And he's a janitor, and he's like, "Listen, you wrestle?" Like, yeah, I do some jiu-jitsu. And honestly, I had not really an idea what was it.
Okay.
He's like, it's mostly like a ground grappling and stuff, and maybe we can train together. And we start like rolling, right? There was no word for me to just, and
He's like,
I mean, like I said, my coach was a universal person,
Right.
and whatever I could do, just picking up from the wrestling experience, I didn't do bad. I did fine, like some sambo, some judo, was no gi, of course.
Right.
Okay, and I had the shoes on. Otherwise, I feel naked. And didn't go bad, actually. And some other guys start coming, and we mentioned today Tony Fox. He's a brown belt, right?
I think Tony Fox.
I'm
believe
sorry,
is
I
still a brown
mentioned
belt
his
at
name,
Valco's.
but
yeah.
from Valco?
Valco Jiu-Jitsu.
Okay, yeah,
Tony
I'm
Fox.
not-
Great guy.
not
He's a
sure.
Great
And
guy.
he
His
was
son is-
actually
he's a
the
wrestler,
first
too.
person who introduced me to jiu-jitsu, and he threw me to Naga 2010, I would say.
Okay.
He's like, okay, so I'm going to sign up for no-gi beginners. Like, you kidding me? Experts. I'm like, no, I'll pay for you. So he did, and I end up winning it.
I'm not surprised.
I think he went against some
Bob Sharmer.
yeah.
What was that? I didn't quite hear.
Yeah, I was like 10-0 winning, and I choke him out.
Wow.
Yeah.
So-
I've heard about that match through multiple people.
Interesting.
I heard it as a look of shock.
Through the entire crowd.
Yeah,
It's like,
pretty
whoa,
much.
what
Like
just
it was
happened?
It was like a smaller facility. I don't remember where was
I
it.
mean, yeah, back then.
Back then they were pretty small.
Yeah, they hadn't quite grown.
He's
to the
like
size
sitting
they are
in the
now.
gi pants, like naked on top, and looking at me, and I'm like, I used to warm up before every match. It's like nowhere I can sit down and go.
Right.
It's like I don't feel good doing it, and he's like staring at me, like, and I said to myself, probably not losing to that guy. It's like, no way, I'm gonna do everything possible.
Now, okay, so you kind of said like you won a judo tournament, not really knowing the rules. Did you know the rules?
I mean,
of
the
this?
rules is rules.
Right.
We went through the rules, like,
Okay, so
make
you-
sure we do everything
Right.
at least legal.
not
we
get- to
can
not
do.
Right. break them.
Do not do anything illegal. Don't
Yeah,
get
yeah.
disqualified.
Uh-huh.
But okay,
We need something simple. Somebody in armbar, you lift off the ground. They call it. They stand us back, and there was like a few more. Yuko Koko, Wazari, Ippon.
Yeah,
right?
back then
and
the scoring
it like-
system
it
was
like
quite different.
things, right? I mean, like, even if somebody wearing the gi and you're not using the throwing or taking down, so it's still fine.
Right, still
It's
works.
Like,
Did you
Nobody like-
did you grab the gi then when you did a tournament? Or did you
you know
just
what?
still
I
try to
was in
grab the
high
head?
school.
Yeah.
And I never had experience grabbing the gi, so most probably I did at some point, just because it was in my hand.
Sure, it's there.
but not
Weren't really
intentionally,
trying to,
like doing
yeah.
it. Right?
So when you competed at Naga, like, did you have like a bunch of prep time, or they just like kind of throw you in there?
No,
and he's
that
like, you'll
was
be
like
fine.
mostly was training with the Tony, and like was nothing special. And I was like deciding to put shoes on or not.
Right.
And if I can mention another name,
Sure.
Sure, fire away.
Talk about whoever.
he's a good friend of mine from the New
Definitely
Breed,
talk about friends.
From,
Friends for sure.
from the New Breed, Colin Lane.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
He used to be
Colin
like an instructor and plays Tony Open in the forest, Lake Forest.
Okay.
And we had some training with Colin or Tony, and Colin was there and like, listen, should I put my shoes on? He's like, whatever you feel comfortable with. I'm like, okay, it's on.
Shoes are on.
Okay, it's on. And the ref asked me, what is it you're wearing? I'm like, wrestling shoes. It's not the street shoes right now. It's like, no. Like, okay, so go ahead, you're fine.
That's funny. The ref didn't even
The
know.
funny ref, the ref didn't know wrestling shoes.
Yeah, well, you know, they're not very popular in jiu-jitsu. I don't know why. You know, I've always been weirded out about that aspect of the
Because
culture.
of the leg locks, right?
I don't think that's it. I think it's really my personal thought process is jiu-jitsu comes from judo. In judo, you don't wear shoes, and I think they've just adopted that tradition.
And
ever
the
since.
people
They're-
in Brazil, they're wearing the flip-flops.
The flip-flops,
And
that's
it's
right.
not comfortable doing jiu-jitsu wearing it, right?
Yeah.
So there you go.
There you go.
I always talk about shoes. Like I love my sambo shoes. I love my
safe,
wrestling
right?
shoes.
For
It's
your
safer for your
foot,
toes.
right,
Yeah,
right,
yeah. I took a bad toe injury one time in jiu-jitsu just because I didn't have shoes on.
And using tons and tons of tape to cover it, creating a shoe, right?
I used stitches because it was really bad.
Oh, that bad, huh?
Yeah, I had to go to the ER for that one.
Yikes.
Yeah, that was rough.
I got just a student I was teaching put his leg back after I showed him a technique the other day and bent the old toenail back. Wasn't even a long toenail. You're like, if I had shoes on.
Speaking of injuries.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's
Speaking of injuries in jiu-jitsu, I was in a guard, like inside the guard, and the guy tried to get the kimura, and he hit me in my eyelid with his elbow and cracked it.
Oh,
jeez.
yikes.
And it was like, I never had such experience, and I'm blowing my nose, and it's bubbling under my eye. Oh. And I went to ER, and like, the doctor is like, it's like typical boxing injury, but I don't box. He's like, don't blow your nose. I'm like,
Wait a
okay,
minute.
I will.
too late.
Okay, we got to stop there because I talked to we're gonna throw some names around. Dwayne Sharp, we're a mutual friend of ours here, and Dwayne and Alex used to train together quite a bit at Conviction, and I heard that you maybe boxed a little as a kid, and that a certain Shidokan black belt said, "Hey, can we box?" and you hadn't put on gloves in 30 years, but yet you lit him up like a Christmas tree.
Oh, wow.
No, I
That's
didn't.
what I heard.
That's a lie. That's a lie. But speaking of boxing, like I said, I was in army responsible for gym.
Okay.
And one guy from Dagestan, actually, is homeland of Habib.
Yep.
I said Habib, right? It's in English,
yeah.
Habib, no?
Yeah, right.
We
whatever.
tend, we tend to
tender
pronounce the
butcher.
K more.
Sorry, in
but
Russian, it's Habib.
we're
noted.
definitely not saying it right. That's just how.
Okay, so that's Habib, all right?
Yeah,
So from
Habib.
his homeland. He's, I would say, he has a body like you, but I would say 6 inches taller.
Oh, wow.
And he's
Okay.
a boxer. And we had a few bags, and I asked him to show me something. We had the gloves and everything else. He was like, some basics. And then he said, like, let's spar. I'm like, okay, let's spar. And we start. And of course, he did it like for, I don't know, like 5-6 years before that. And like, I said, listen, you can beat me up, but if I'm going to get your chin, I'm going to kill you. He's like, okay, that's enough for today. Okay, I came alive.
You should have taken him down.
Against the rules.
Look at that. Fair play.
Fair play.
And then one day I was like boxing for myself, just punch in the bag. And one of the officers came over and he's like, "You're a boxer, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." Let's spar, because I did some karate back then, and he was wearing actual gi.
Okay.
He was doing some kind of like fancy moves. I don't remember the name of it, but whatever. And we start sparring, and he's like, "Oh, you don't know anything about the legs and stuff like that." And we start sparring, and he, of course, he got to karate stand and like extend his leg in the front. And first, my intent was just sweep the leg. And I did. He hit his head back to the floor, and he's like, "Okay, that's enough for today." Okay, that's good.
Don't know kicks, but do know foot sweeps.
I
That's
didn't
right.
even think. I just like just did it.
This goes to show wrestling, you know, the wrestler can
Universal
learn how to
language.
strike. Yeah, absolutely.
So, speaking of other injuries, though.
You can point out my hillbilly tooth.
Yeah,
The
well,
hillbilly
what have you done to your face, sir?
I broke my teeth out a long time ago, and then the other day I was riding my bike home, and I was tired, and I decided to hit a parked vehicle and smack my mouth on it. So I
All on your own?
Yeah, all on my own. I thought my bag. They're called panniers, by the way. Did you know that? Did you know
Wait,
saddlebags on bicycles are called panniers?
No, I thought they were called saddlebags.
Yeah,
Like,
so did I. No,
are they
apparently-
panniers on a motorcycle
they're
too? Do you know?
I don't know. Anything with a motor scares me. So I thought it was going to catch in my spoke, so I turned around and I just veered just enough, and the car won. So I got to have a fake tooth here for the next few months.
I think it looks
great,
super
right?
tough, man.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
like
yeah.
I would stop telling that story and
I know.
start,
I should
like,
make it a better. I'm just not a good
yeah,
liar,
like,
though.
you get like you need a guy in a bar, or you got need by a guy in a bar fight.
No.
You know, you got your tooth knocked out
I
in a
know, but
boxing
I'm not a
match,
good liar.
MMA.
Then I'd have to, because I'm an okay storyteller. So then I'd start telling the story, and then
They just get
fall apart.
unbelievable?
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
I would try to make it completely unbelievable.
I mean, if you're gonna lose a tooth, that's a good one to lose. It's
The
a
right
good
in
look.
front, right
Yeah.
in front. Oh yeah, if you're gonna do it right.
Can you whistle better now?
I could never whistle in the first place, so no, I can't.
I feel like you need to take this as an opportunity.
Nope.
It's a place
like
to
as a
hold
cook.
your cigarette, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
If
Which I
only,
never got
yeah.
into that. Right. I do feel like I should have like a pipe, like a long, like
nice
wizard pipe.
Oh, a wizard one, huh? Like Gandalf?
Well, yeah, Gandalf. That's totally what I was thinking. I knew you were gonna bring it up, you son of a bitch.
Of course. I mean, our
No
listen-
names, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no names, but make fun of the tooth.
Our listeners are robbed of the glorious experience that is this visual. You know, you're gonna have to definitely smile for the camera.
For sure.
And then we found conviction, right?
Yeah, and then we found Conviction.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where.
So that's where the two of you met.
That is where we met. Conviction with a former rest in peace Conviction. It was
was-
a good time for a minute. It was a good time for a minute, for sure.
what-
It was like I would say 3 years a minute.
yeah. It was a good time for a minute.
So around when was that? Roughly.
So I was a purple belt. So God,
2013.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
okay.
And it was a cool spot. It had the two garage doors that were wide open, and like a CrossFit style gym mixed with a boxing ring and a heavy matted area and a bunch of
Surrounded by cage, right?
surrounded by a cage, and then a bunch of people that were willing to kick the hell out of each other. So
Yep.
yeah, we had some fun in there.
I was like passing by a few times, and it says like actually on the website, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, and stuff like that. And I decided to go there once
Find out about
Sunday
this wrestling.
was, right.
Yeah.
And the owner was there, and of course nobody to wrestle with.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he
They're like,
called,
we have wrestling.
He called a coach from the gym. Of course, he couldn't miss opportunity to get $15 from me, so
Right,
he
with
called
the
the
dropping
coach.
fee, yeah.
And he made me sign a waiver. Like, have you ever been to MMA gym? I'm like, no, first time there. So I have to sign the waiver. If something happened, we're not responsible for you.
Right.
I'm like, okay, I'll sign the waiver. I did sign the waiver. I paid him $15. He called the coach, and we started just like wrestling. Ended up bad for him. I was kind of, I would say, pissed. Like,
Because you paid to be there, and you're
I
like,
mean, like, usually first time you come in to find out what's going on there, it's free, right? It's not about even $15.
Right.
It's
Right,
the
right.
way
It's
he
just-
brought it to me. Like, I'm like, okay, so I'll pay you back.
Yeah.
And then, like,
Good to get your $15
and,
worth.
yeah, he returned it.
Ah.
He asked me to like help with all the stuff there, and like, I'm gonna pay you, and you're gonna use me. He's like, no, you don't have to pay anymore. Like, okay, good, fair deal.
Yeah.
so. Did you meet each other then with him already in a coaching context? Or
You know what? Honestly, I'm gonna interrupt.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
never thought about the coaching, and that was the first gym I ever started.
okay,
And actually, it's ended up good,
right?
because people was interested, and I tried to do my best from all the back knowledge from all the years, and people liked it. They start coming to classes. It was kind of growing,
Right.
and we had a bunch of grapplers there, and we didn't have to look for anybody else from outside.
Right.
The people
Right.
was there.
Yeah,
we
yeah,
just
yeah.
have to put them to right direction, and like I said, get them interested in the stuff we're doing there. So it was right there, and that's how I start. Like little by little, I knew a few people around from other gyms, from Seraphim, from Velko, and that was kind of new gym for me. And like Jason mentioned, Dwayne already. He was one of my like first training partners there.
Right.
And
Dwayne
some
was
other
spitting
people,
from day one.
some girls was coming to a class.
Right.
And then Jason knows well Elliot. I'm training with the guy for already, like I would say, 7-8 years probably. He just contacted me over Facebook, and we become a good friends and training partners.
I thought I saw this guy train at Conviction. I'm gonna throw a number out there 300 times. Said hi to him, shook his hand all the time, and just saw him wrestle. And like, I don't want to say I avoided him, but I was not in a hurry to grapple this fella, right? But I thought for certain, just because I knew Alex, I'm like, this guy's Russian. This guy's Russian.
But he's not. We
He's
just
not.
we just had a conversation on the way here in the car. He's like, I thought he's Russian. I'm like, you know what? Now I think he's Russian.
He acts
After so
very
many
Russian.
years,
Right.
like,
But at the
and
time,
stuff like that.
definitely
And actually, we had a good match because I never wrestled like a folk style, whatever here is in the high
Yeah, yeah.
schools and colleges. I'm not saying I don't like that style, but
different,
it's something weird for me.
So fill in
Like
the
a-
jiu-jitsu community. What's the difference between folk style and freestyle for folks that might not know?
So like the scoring system is different.
Exactly.
There's a much bigger emphasis in American folk style on the mat work that we do, which is why it translates really well into MMA and jiu-jitsu as well, because that close tie-in and how you control legs, how you ride the body, things like that. I meant to say ride legs. I don't know why I said ride the body. So those things are not necessarily done in freestyle. Freestyle has a greater emphasis on like big lifts and takedowns. Depending on the part of the world you come from, there's also a lot of like regional differences in freestyle. Russia actually and the Soviet countries, like a lot of their guys are really good at foot sweeps, really good at setting things up with what is considered unconventional ties, or at least was in like the
from
80s.
standing to going.
Yeah. So it's very much a. If I had to compare them, this is not totally accurate, but like freestyle is much more of a takedown-oriented approach to wrestling, whereas folk style has that strong element of it as well, but there's a lot more mat work. So like if you're coming at it from like a jiu-jitsu perspective, you almost might contrast them like one's kind of like judo and the other one's kind of like jiu-jitsu in the way they prioritize scoring.
Okay.
And that's like a super basic breakdown.
Like you mentioned, different system of scoring. That's what actually keep me a little bit away in my mind from the folk style. Because to me, it's like every time you're exposing your back, you should lose a point.
Right.
But it's not going in the folk style. And you wrestle somebody folk style for fun, and in my head, it's like 100-0, I'm winning, and there's still 0-0 they think, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And
Back
that's,
exposure works differently.
Right. But you would be surprised how many moves in the freestyle on the ground.
Yeah. There are quite a few, but a lot of them are to encourage like turns.
Right.
So like when you lace the legs, which totally looks like a leg lock to jiu-jitsu people whenever you do it. But like when you lace the legs, you're looking to spin them to their back to get to accumulate points
or all
rapidly.
the gut wrenches or all other flips.
Right, when you gut somebody.
You just like tilt and get back, you score 2 points, which is nothing, doesn't mean anything in folk style.
Okay.
Yeah,
But speaking of rules of folk style, you have like 3 periods in high school.
Right,
It's
you
like
got-
2 minutes in.
Yeah, then you
Second and
trade
third,
up
you
and
start
down
from the ground.
Yeah. Parterre
That's the
is
thing.
what it's
Right,
called
right,
in Greco and freestyle.
But there is no more parterre in the freestyle.
Yeah,
There's like-
it used to be though.
It used to be, but and I liked it better when you're receiving like a warning for being passive. So it was like a different time and different rules. So first was mandatory you going down to the ground, and a person who's active starting on the top. Then was like you asking ref asking actually
Who wants to take top, bottom?
Yeah, no, not top of the bottom, feet or top.
Okay.
You had no choice on that.
Okay.
Depends. You win in match, you don't want to go to scramble on the ground, 10, 15 seconds left. Of course, you're going to choose a feet.
Right.
And there was like a kind of flexibility. Now, if you receive a warning, you're on the clock for 30 seconds, you have to score a point. And if you don't, you're losing the point.
Right, for passivity
But
penalties.
there is no more like starting from the ground, from parterre, like I said.
Right.
So that's,
And that is still present in Greco.
right.
They still have that.
Right.
So, yeah. Greco is kind of interesting in that there's no lower body attacks.
Yeah,
It's
that's
all
where-
upper body.
Upper body,
You're not
right.
allowed to touch the legs. You can't foot sweep. You can't do a double where your hands go below the waistline. So all
But
the
they're
throws
still
in there.
doing a good job blocking legs with the legs.
Yeah, absolutely. You're allowed to do that. So, like you can put a knee in and tilt the guy over the knee, but you can't actually foot sweep him. So
Yeah, and when you throw, you get your leg in between. And blocking and-
When you arch a guy.
Yeah, we have our friend Bobby that was
Yeah.
on the Serbian
I was gonna
national.
say that.
Oh my gosh, he was on the Serbian
National
Greco
team,
team,
right.
national Greco-Roman team. I've pummeled,
you
for
haven't.
once or twice in my day, right? Oh my God! I felt like the other day he was just going light, and I'm just like, I just shook my head at one time. He's like, "Is there anything wrong?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I feel like I've never done this before with you. Like, I can't get an underhook. I can't get an overhook. Nothing was
Right.
going to work."
Actually, I
against
had
this
some
man.
kind of same feeling.
Yeah.
I mean, like not that bad, but
Yeah, he's
Well, there's levels to this
Yeah,
game.
no,
no,
right?
you feel like you're doing something, but then you realize you didn't.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, oh, this is going to work so well. Oh, no, it doesn't.
Yeah, I've had similar experience with guys that have less accolades in terms of Greco, so I can only imagine. Wow.
Yeah, he
So in
gets
going
really
like-
tough.
Where's he train?
He trains at. It was funny. I met him in my local grocery store, and we had the old cauliflower ear. Like,
you,
hey. And he's like, we just pointed to each other, and he started
This is
talking.
how you lost your tooth, right?
No, that's not. hey.
Pointing each other.
But yeah, we shot the breeze. And he's like, where do you grapple at? And I go, we exchanged numbers and everything. I go, well, depends on what kind of grappling you're looking for. And he's like, I like to wrestle.
Right.
And I said, well, you need to go to Evolution and meet this Russian fella. And yeah.
And it worked out. It sounds like.
He's there. now.
And coming back to I don't have tons of jiu-jitsu experience. Like I said, I can figure it out somehow, which way it's going. But meeting all the people around me and bringing all different schools, all different experiences. And speaking of Dwayne again, he's like, oh, your style fits not going to mention the name of the school, but whatever. I'm like, no, it's not. I'm trying to fit myself in it.
Right.
From the way I understand that. He's like,
Right.
oh, it fits well, we're gonna come over and train with you and blah 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 and stuff like that. I'm
Dwayne
like,
said
okay.
you're,
So and I
you're-
thought like, okay, I'm going the right way.
He said your submission style is your submission knowledge is you just try to bend things the way they don't go.
The way they don't.
It's coming back to my coach. Like
Yeah.
all the moves was like, if you can say like a legal pain in wrestling you can bring. So all the shoulder locks and it's still have to be done to pin your opponent, right? Elbow lock, shoulder lock, some
Right.
stuff
So like
that,
hammer
right?
locks and
But
things like that.
Speaking of submissions, if you lock the arm or shoulder way, you don't have to flip him and pin him, so you just can crank it a little harder.
Right.
So then it comes to like more than just a legal pain, right? So-
For sure. Oh, that's pretty cool. So you guys were at Conviction for a while.
Yeah, for like
A
3 or so
real
years.
while,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And what happened when that place closed down then? Like,
It
have to speak.
dispersed like
we just had
rats.
this conversation. You know what? You just bring in those questions. We just had a conversation in the car. Actually.
Yeah, go. But yeah, so, where did you end up going then? Straight after Conviction closed.
To another conviction he opened.
Yeah, he went. He opened one around
It
the
was
corner
like-
for a little bit.
and the Montrose, right? And but
You
it
stayed
was the
there for a
same
little
story.
bit.
okay.
And after they closed, like mentioned Elliot again, like Elliot, what we're gonna do? He's like, you know what? I saw that gym on the Pulaski. Let's go and ask. And it was Labor Day, September 8th. And we stopped by, and Mike is like such a nice person, such a nice owner.
He's a
of the
great guy.
gym.
He really is.
And he used to wrestle in high school and in college.
Okay.
But now he's like a national team member in kettlebell sport.
Okay.
So he's like really great and so inviting, so feels like home. Like he's like, there's a mats on the second floor. Go up and check it. I'm like, that's it. What else you need from me? Just go there and check it. Like,
Right.
you like it or not, it's up to you. Like, okay, we went there. Like, really nice. Not like huge, but enough for I would say 8 people to be on it.
Right.
So every time we have to roll the mats, clean them back, and it's become like I really appreciate the former Conviction owner. He closed the place because now I have a new home and it's
Right.
better working for us, and everybody respects us there. And
It's a great spot.
And that's
Evolution over on Peterson and Pulaski.
right.
Yeah, it's a really nice, clean gym. Super nice. Yeah, it's like you
not
said.
as
It's
clean as this one.
yeah, this one's pretty clean. Though. This is a pretty clean place
We're
here.
guests here. Let's see.
That's right. But yeah, the cool thing is it's kind of everybody there. Like at one time we'll have Redzovic, Carlson Gracie, Dino Costas,
Seraphins.
Seraphin guys and gals, all on like out of 8 people, we'll have 4 or 5 different schools getting along, having a great time, just making each other better and being super cool. It's fun.
Now, let me ask a stylistic question here. So, when you're teaching them, are you trying to teach them? Is it always specifically like we're going to do wrestling with jiu-jitsu in mind? Are we trying to like teach wrestling for the sake of wrestling?
Every time I repeat, guys, this is a wrestling class. And
Right. So,
if you have something in your mind how to go further with something else, please don't do it in the class. Just keep it in your mind.
right.
Because I cannot teach any like grappling sport beside the wrestling. I
Okay.
don't feel like it.
No, that's
and I don't
fantastic,
know,
actually.
and I don't know that much to do it.
Every time he turns around, I'm
I-
throwing on a heel hook every single time.
I just can maybe give like a little direction. That you can do this, maybe check it out,
Right.
stuff like that. But I'm always trying to feed all the takedowns and all the ground moves to
With the goal of
something
wrestling
they
in mind.
need, right?
Okay.
He's really great about that. Like he knows. Well, first of all, his wrestling style is it's for domination. I mean, it is not for prettiness and points. It is. He wants to put you on the ground, put you in a world of pain until you are in a position where you can't defend yourself. So that works for jiu-jitsu pretty well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sounds pretty ideal.
Yeah,
Actually,
it's pretty ideal.
Like I said, I don't have so many experience in jiu-jitsu, like yours. There's different people, different variations and stuff like that, and probably I could figure it out like the way it goes, and just to
Right.
bring the people whatever they need,
for sure.
and they liked it.
Right.
So-
Well,
so-
I mean, obviously they keep coming back. So
Oh, yeah.
now, but you've also done like I think the last one I saw was it a 4-week camp at Seraphin's? You've done like
I had like a 2 at least by 5 weeks, one, and another one was 6 weeks.
And you get like at least a good dozen people or so, right?
Yeah.
yeah. So
it
you've
was
done that at the Seraphin's. You've done that at the Redzovics before.
Rezovics, yes. And we just threw a few like free classes there. So people was
Introduce
interested.
them.
Shout out to Anthony Kalina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
Actually, he was the first one who brought me
I love
there.
that guy. He's such a good dude.
He's a good
He
dude.
like asked me to
really
give
is.
him like some privates, and we started at the Rezovics, and he just started come to our gym, and he's like asked the Rezovics if they can bring me over to teach some wrestling and stuff like that. So we did it, and then another school was like Staley Martial Arts. So we went, so her name was it. So I had the camp there, but I wouldn't say I'm so ambitious person, but everybody knows where to find me if
Right.
they need anything.
Right.
Right. I'm not like walking around and.
Well, you have
We
what
still
people-
need to fit the people. I mean, like fit the people and the mats we have.
Right.
We we cannot bring 100 people just to.
Well, you have what
And-
people would call a real job anyway, right? You're a machinist by trade, is that right?
It's my hobby,
Oh, okay.
and like I doing my best. I'm not trying to put the person in the position they want to give me their money just because they want to come over. It's just like fairly low payments and.
Right. No, it sounds like I mean, like I said, I've known about it for a while. You know, I've heard your name passed around. Like plenty of the black belts locally have spoken very highly of you, and you know, like the stuff that you've taught their students and that they've correspondingly brought back to their gyms. So yeah, no, it sounds like you've got a really
He's a
good
phenomenal
arrangement.
coach. He really is. It's
When Jason asked me if I want to do the podcast, I'm like, I think you're kidding me. He's like, no.
No, not a joke at all, man.
yeah. We need some more pure grapplers of other other
Yeah,
varieties.
yeah, it is called Grappler Union. It's not Jiu-Jitsu Union.
Right, right.
I remind people of that all the time.
So, but yeah, I really his coaching style is great. I love the way you really know how to. I feel like I'm Forrest Gump right now. Knows how to explain things so I can understand them. But
Well, that's important.
but
though.
no, I don't know how to say it any better. You really do have a great way of teaching someone who doesn't learn moves exceptionally fast like myself. So I appreciate.
It's
your
really
coaching style.
annoying for me if I show the move and somebody doing it wrong.
Okay.
So it cannot be like this. Like, you have to do it right, and we have to correct it.
Right.
And let's say if we're gonna repeat like another 100 times during that hour, so we're gonna repeat 100 times. It doesn't matter as
Right,
long
that's
as
what it
you're
takes.
walking out and you know what you're doing and you feel. I mean, like I'm trying to repeat always. Like you have to feel good about the move you just did. It doesn't matter. It was like a life resistance, no resistance drilling. It doesn't matter. If you feel good, you feel like excited. You just did something. So that's the way it have to be.
Right.
Otherwise, you're just like, oh, I didn't learn anything. Why did I come over? It's like, maybe I'm not coming again. No, you have to do it right. Feel happy, just go home and come back again.
Right.
It's absolutely one of my favorite training hours of the week for sure.
So, what days are you over there?
Unfortunately, I can only go over like once a week. I know, right? Ugh. I can only go once a week.
And what
I
day
know,
is that?
And that's usually Monday or Tuesday. I can never go.
Okay.
Depends on my client schedule.
Right.
But I always make sure, I seriously take, trying to build an empire myself, trying to build one of these jiu-jitsu schools and working the 7-day week grind. But I honestly take one night off strictly for wrestling.
But once we had a class 5 a.m., right?
Yes, we did. Yeah, he said.
And 4 people showed up.
Yeah,
Hey.
yeah. It was a holiday. Was it holiday, right?
Yeah.
You did. I can't think it was Christmas.
was
it Christmas
January
Eve?
2nd, I
January
think.
2nd. Is that what it was? Yeah. I was like, oh, absolutely. You mean January 1st when I'm gonna actually sleep in a little bit or something? Yeah, bring
He
it
asked me
on.
over the text, like, what time is your class today? I'm like, 5 a.m.?
I go.
He's
"Be
like,
serious?"
I can do that.
I'm down.
Wow.
I'm down. I'm not scared of the early morning.
Were you walking in there thinking, I'm going to be the only one there? I'm going to have them all to myself.
Actually, no. I kind of again. I know what
the guys look
what
like.
kind of environment coach has created. That people will show up if you build it, they will come, kind of thing for sure.
Right.
So speaking of that 5 a.m. class, Jason was there, person from TDC,
Okay.
021 and Reservix.
Yeah. Oh
Nice.
yeah, Brazil 021. I forgot about. Yeah.
021, yeah.
Yeah.
That's-
It's a like a what do we got, like NATO kind of thing. Boom.
Through wrestling, we will
Through
bring
wrestling.
everyone together.
That's right.
Yeah, who would have thought it?
Trying to bring like a different kind. Like today we had a class. I connected like rubber bands to the posts, and we just was drilling, trying to shoot and accomplish that kind of
yeah, the
movement.
bands,
take
oh
shots
my
with
gosh.
the wall,
resistance?
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
it's a good way to like explode,
Build explosive
to do
power, yeah.
something. Plus, after all, you have to control, make sure you're not slamming yourself back into the wall.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and as you get more tired, that's definitely harder.
Yeah, because if there's anything you want to do is make wrestling harder by putting resistance bands around
Right.
you.
This wrestling is too easy.
Yeah.
Let's level this up a little
Yeah.
I
bit.
mean, when you're taking it off, it feels like you're flying.
It
right?
is
Right, no,
absolutely it's
absolutely.
true.
Absolutely.
It's absolutely true. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, we use those in judo in
Yeah.
kind of the opposite direction. We
Yeah,
call them
the
Chikomi
pull.
bands. Yeah, to develop explosive pull for simulates nicely the pull.
We have
that you
those
need
at
for-
Tokon.
Yep. Yep.
They're great.
Spent a fair amount of time there as well, huh?
A little bit. Yeah, right down. It's trying to get good at this takedown stuff. I don't want to be one of them dirty guard pullers. I'd rather be a
But that's
bad
against the
takedown.
rules still, right?
I God bless people that do it, but I'd rather be bad at takedowns and fight for a takedown than pull guard. Personally, I don't know. I just want to be a complete grappler.
Right. No, I mean, I obviously agree. Zito is not here to defend the
That's
life
right.
of the guard
so,
puller.
so nobody's
but-
going to argue with me on this one.
So, from a tactical point of view, I do understand.
Exactly.
Within the
I totally understand it. Me
Yeah,
too.
within the rules of jiu-jitsu.
Like Travis Stevens said, that, you know, in the rules of jiu-jitsu, he would pull guard.
Yeah, because the effort is not worth the reward in a strict context.
I think
You know,
the effort's worth it if you bomb somebody.
Well, it depends. like one of the things that I've broken this down for my students several times, and it's kind of funny to see the light bulb go off. If you're going to be good at takedowns, you also generally need to be really quite good at passing, because even off a very good takedown, there's a good chance that they're going to implement some kind of guard. So you need those two systems to be about equal, at parity for you to really get anywhere. If you're going to be good at pulling guard, well, pulling guard itself, not that it's not a skill of its own, okay, but once you get it to the ground and you're in guard, now you just need your guard-based skills. Right. You know, you don't need an entire secondary set of skills to go there. So I can definitely see like you're looking to minimize the amount of your game can be only so wide at an expert level, at the highest level.
Yeah.
You know, you can't be awesome at everything.
You know, I've had plenty of training partners, two in particular, that have told me, they're like, Jason, you'd be better off by just concentrating on one aspect of your grappling. But the problem is you try to get good at too many things. And I'm like, yeah, but I just want to have fun, you know. And if I'm having fun and
Right,
I'm
well,
trying to,
that's the most important thing.
Yeah, and I want to be a good wrestler. I want to be good at. I want to have a couple judo throws. I want to have, you know, I want to be able to pass the guard as well as have a good guard, you know. So,
yeah, for me, I judge what I do based on how much I'm going to use it, and I spend roughly 50% of my time in the gi and roughly 50% of my time doing no gi, and some of that no gi is submission only style grappling with any submission going, and some of that's more MMA focused where we're working on the wall. There's a possibility of punches being thrown. So like, I don't want to sound like I'm beating up on it because I know I've said it before, but something like worm guard, very low priority for me. I can't use worm guard in judo. I can't use it at all in no-gi. You know, what are you gonna be wrapping there?
Right, exactly.
Okay, but something like a simple sleeve grip detail, that crosses over between my judo, it crosses over into sambo, it crosses over into all aspects of gi jiu-jitsu. So that's worth spending some time on maybe, but still not as much as something I could do universally.
Right.
Like a double leg applies whether I'm in a gi, whether I'm in no gi, whether I'm in a cage,
Kimura,
yeah, exactly. So there's a bunch of stuff, and that's just kind of how I parse it out. Above and beyond, like, I'm going to do the stuff I enjoy.
Right.
I'm like, what can I make the most use out of? That needs to form the core of my game. The stuff that doesn't change regardless of what uniform, doesn't change too much regardless of rule set. Those need to be like the foundation movements, and then everything else from there, I kind of break out as like, oh, I'm doing this competition. It allows this. Let's focus a little bit more time on that. So my training changes a little bit based on what the tournament coming up. The next tournament's going to be no-gi. I'm going to focus on no-gi a little bit more. Next tournament after that, gi, jiu-jitsu. Got to change things up a little bit to adapt to the rule set.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
You've gotten quite a few people ready for jiu-jitsu tournaments, though, that have done pretty okay for themselves.
Not bad. I mean, like, still starting from standing, right? You cannot avoid it unless you're, like you said, you jump in the garden. Plus, it's not all the levels they can do.
Right. And, well, yeah, even every jiu-jitsu match starts on the feet. Some guys are going to pull guard rapidly, but you still got to start on the feet. So you either need to learn how to do takedowns, you better learn how to pull guard. Those are your two options.
And whatever you're saying, like all the options you have, like a judo, wrestling, sambo, jiu-jitsu, and prove me wrong, sometimes you grapple, you roll, and you don't even think about the move you're doing, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It just comes from somewhere.
Just get in the moment.
I'm like, sometimes I'm catching myself, like going live, like, oh, I didn't do that move for years.
But it was there.
It's still sitting there, and I did it. And I'm like, oh, wow.
Right.
I'm kind of surprised myself. So it's like a best case, probably, all the muscle feeling or all the
muscle
knowledge
memory.
you have buried somewhere deep in your brains, right? It's like coming out, you don't even expect it.
Yeah. No. I like takedowns, obviously. Yeah, we really need Zito here to disagree.
I know, right? We need somebody to argue with us. We need a counterpoint.
But yeah.
And we feel good doing it, right?
Absolutely. Man, you lift another man off the ground and plant him maybe not so gently, with impact and control. It's a fantastic feeling. And it's like, again, that's a skill that crosses over to basically every form of martial arts that I'm interested in. Like jiu-jitsu is kind of unique in that, like, it doesn't, you still get points for it, obviously, but it doesn't prioritize it the same way, and the opponent has the opportunity to kind of take that away from you if they're quicker on the draw with the guard pull. But for sure, in MMA, in wrestling, in an actual fight.
First of all, what was the? I mean, I'm going to butcher the number, so I'm not even going to venture a guess. But wasn't there an article someone came out with not that long ago that was going around that said that they looked at sweeps in the IBJJF. I don't know if it was just black belt adult division or whatever. And X amount, like it was an insane high number, like 70 to 75% of all jiu-jitsu sweeps end up becoming single legs or double legs in the end.
So one of the craziest things is that sweeps and takedowns score equally.
Right.
And I don't know if it was always intended this way, mind you, but there's a bunch of situations where you're attempting a sweep from a guard, but you come up and you basically running him into a single leg, and now, yeah, exactly. Your half guard game, aspects of single leg X guard, shin on shin, like all these different guard techniques, basically just funnel into some sort of single leg takedown.
Coming off a De La Riva.
Yeah, and if you don't have the experience of actually wrestling someone down from a single leg, you could set this thing up beautifully, and the other guy's the superior standing wrestler. They're gonna take away your points.
Keenan had a great takedown today at Euros. I saw.
I missed it.
Yeah, he had some nice pant grips, but yeah, he was just straight up wrestling.
Yeah, he's been adding a lot more wrestling and judo to his game. That dirty guard puller converted him at last.
That's right.
Justin Flores there. But yeah, man, did you see? Sorry, this is gonna get some pretty nerdy stuff here. Did you see Ali versus Musumeci?
I didn't get to see it.
Oh my God!
I didn't even hear what happened.
So they
can we give Coach context?
Yes.
Muhammad Ali is a modern grappler.
Yeah, I've seen him.
Have you seen him?
Right. Yeah,
pretty jacked, pretty big fella.
Yeah, he's over 220. He's a black belt, multiple time world champion. Okay, so he's a big athletic dude, pretty exciting to watch overall too. And then Mikey Musumeci is also a multiple-time black belt world champion, but he weighs somewhere between like 130 and 140 pounds. Very, very good, very technical.
Looks like he plays Fortnite all day or something.
Yeah,
I mean, just
literally, like one of them looks like a linebacker, and the other one looks like a D&D nerd.
Absolutely, it's hilarious.
So Mikey and him. Mikey signs up for the open class, which means he can fight guys of any size. His first opponent, by the way, enormous dude, like very round. I don't know the guy's name. He wasn't somebody who's on my radar personally, but like ultra heavyweight. Okay, and he beats him.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of that one.
And then he gets into the match with LA, and man, the back and forth. Muhammad tries to pass his guard. He does score some advantages for pass attempts and whatnot, but can't pass his guard for like a solid 6 minutes. Mikey puts him into this position called 50-50, which is a good sweeping leg locking position. Kind of threatens the sweeps, scores on a sweep. Muhammad sweeps him back, like fantastic back and forth. And Mikey's given up probably at least 90, but more likely 100 plus pounds. And like just how good is Mikey Musumeci that he's able to almost win. He loses by one advantage, but it was just a battle for the ages.
100 pounds over, should they just give you an advantage?
Like a free advantage for giving up that much weight? Yeah. I'll take that deal.
No kidding.
Let me ask you something. Those advantages, where are they coming from?
So generally, the easiest way to understand
What's
the advantage
behind it?
So the Brazilians can win more.
Hey. No. So the idea is, and different organizations have done variations on this, where instead of giving an advantage now they give a point, but advantages usually come from near completion of a technique. So a threatening submission, a near sweep, or near pass, those can earn an advantage. The advantages don't count as real points. Okay, so they only matter when the score is otherwise tied up. So if it's tied at like 0-0, the guy with the most advantages win. It was tied in Mikey and Muhammad's match at 2-2, but Ali had 2 advantages and Mikey only had 1. So he won by a single advantage.
Isn't it if somebody heavier 100 pounds and they have a 2-2 advantages against each other, so smaller guy wins?
Well, if it was tied up, it would have gone to ref's decision, and they might have given it to Mikey for being more aggressive. But yeah, no, he technically had.
He won by a Yuko.
Yeah, essentially.
But he's 100 pounds heavier, right?
Yeah, but Mikey signed up for that. He's still got to make the points. Yeah, There was a moment where Mikey came out of 50-50. Kyle Terra's screaming in the background, giving him all the advice and everything. But yeah, he comes out of 50-50 and almost takes Muhammad's back, and the crowd goes wild because this tiny little guy's he's either going to put the hooks in and get the 4 points, which would obviously seal the deal, or he's going to choke him, and Muhammad does everything he can to defend it. Doesn't get his back fully taken, but it was so close. It was I was on the edge of my seat watching it. I really was. It was that has to be okay. So I've been out and about all day here. I don't know who won anything just yet. But that so far, as I've seen from yesterday, that was like the moment at the tournament that everyone's going to be talking about. Yeah, it was crazy. And unfortunately, it wasn't the Rocky story. I think we're all hoping, or maybe I should call it the Lachlan story.
The Lachlan story now, yeah.
The little guy didn't manage to win, but it was razor close. Like it really was. Huh?
I'll have to find a way to watch that.
Do you think
one.
it's right to go like absolute, that kind of difference in the weight?
You're asking a guy who does it quite often.
I do the absolute, yeah. I don't want to say quite often. I've done it several times. I've done fairly well for myself sometimes.
Is your life the absolutes, basically?
Well, yeah, so that's a part.
That's what I was going to ask. Thank you.
Yeah,
that was my next question, actually.
I'm more often than not, I'm paired up with guys that are bigger than me. So for me, going with bigger guys, granted they're my teammates, so they're not always trying to kill me, but going with bigger guys is just a normal thing for me. There's a lot more risk for it.
Okay, so what's the difference between going against a bigger guy during your training and in a live tournament?
Intensity, usually. A big guy...
Do you feel like when you train and you grapple against somebody 100 pounds heavier than you are, they're not going 100% against you?
Sometimes they are. Depends on the level of skill difference. So like a guy who's like
let me interrupt again.
Sure.
So if they go in 100% against you, so obviously they have a low level, right?
Typically a guy who's a lower level than me and bigger than me, going very, very hard on me, he's trying to not die. And I'm trying desperately to kill him.
Proving something against you, right?
I don't think they're necessarily trying to prove anything. It's that like if I'm typically good enough where if they don't try pretty hard, they're not going to do very well. Not everyone, you know, but then when it's competition, like nobody wants to lose, and especially bigger guys don't want to lose to some little guy. So they go pretty much 100% because they don't want to lose in competition, and sometimes that does not work out well for them. So
gas them out quicker, you think?
yeah, like there's a bunch of factors here. So like it depends on the way you play. In the gi, I don't want big guys to get grips on me because I'm never going to break those grips.
Right.
So I tend to I tend to shoot low, get around their grips. I don't want, depending on the size of the guy, because like I've got short legs, so like locking close guard against like an ultra heavyweight is not really going to happen.
You don't have those extensions, no?
That'd be nice. Yeah,
right.
just go gadget leg. But so locking close guard around a heavyweight, not really going to happen. Ultra heavyweight, I should say. So playing half guard, got to really guard my head, make sure that they can't just grab and squish me. But because like, and again, big guys oftentimes run into the exact same problem where they don't have like big guy training partners. There's only so many big guys. There's only so many small guys. Most guys are average size.
That's why they go in absolute, right?
That's part of it, yeah. So yeah, like they're not necessarily used to wrestling guys that are like little and squirrely like me. They're used to wrestling guys that are a little bit bigger, maybe a little bit slower, that are more average sized dudes. So a lot of times it's my speed and my slipperiness, I guess, that lets me take advantage of them. But I've also 100%, like one of my favorite, but terrible for this guy, one of my favorite matches ever that was in an absolute, this was at brown belt. I went against a guy, he wasn't an ultra heavyweight, but he was definitely, he had to have at least 50 pounds on me. So, 180s, 190s. And I don't think he thought for even a second that I was going to try to wrestle him. So I walked right up to the guy. I grabbed him. I swept him. He landed flat on his back. We were a little bit out of bounds, so they moved us back to center. The ref was like, go, and I immediately transitioned to a north-south choke and choked him out. And it was like, I feel so bad for that guy because he was just not ready for that.
He wasn't ready.
He probably looked at me and he was like, "This little guy's gonna pull guard, and I'm totally ready to try and pass his guard." But instead, I went in and I wrestled with him. I took him down with a trip and got right on top of him and choked him out. Well, not out all the way out, but I choked him at a tap. That guy did not. He did not stand on the podium with us. No. He took his shit and went right out of there. He went home immediately. So yeah, like for me, that was a pretty awesome moment. I was able to prove that I can do it against big guys in competition. For him, it was probably a terrible moment.
Sure.
What do you think about the repositioning?
So like it depends on how it's done. Like sometimes I don't like when a guy like flees out of bounds in like obvious trouble. Like if a guy's in a submission and tries to flee to get a reset, or like if you're in the middle of a takedown and the guy runs out of the ring, like I'm sorry, like you ran out.
Yeah.
Why there is a borders then?
Yeah, exactly. Like
no, I mean like you have an out of bounds line, like it's a square around or whatever.
Yeah,
it is, right?
typically for like IBJJF,
you have to keep yourself inside a fighting ring. Right?
Most of the other tournaments that I practice in, like there's the inbounds, the warning track that's saying you're going out of bounds, and then actual out of bounds, and you can fight on that line. Okay, but then things score differently whether they're initiated inbounds in a warning zone or out of bounds. But most of those rule sets also have penalties for being pushed out or running out of bounds. So guys might play the edge, but if you manage to shove them out, like combat wrestling has a shove out rule.
In this case, that's for sure. So we had an example, like one of our training partners, Rachel. She went to a Worlds, whatever was in California last, and she had the girl like ankle like up to her head, and she just like accidentally or intentionally pushed her out of bounds, right?
Right.
Okay, so there is no points obviously in jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah, no.
Okay, but why was no repositioning in this case?
They restarted him in the center. Just even.
neutral.
Yeah.
I mean,
no.
like it's working for a ground. Why it's not working for standing then?
Yeah, it's just the way the rules are. Like I said, they don't. I don't
It's
think
a rhetorical question.
Yeah,
It's okay.
they don't favor it, so they're not going to.
Like, why not, right?
Right.
Yeah, because
Right.
the takedown just isn't valued as
Same
much.
way, like you're saying, you can just jump out by yourself, right?
Right.
Escaping the takedown or whatever. Right?
So there are situations where there will be a penalty for like stalling or passivity or whatnot, but yeah, it's like you just took 2 points from me by running out of bounds.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
You should be able to get those points.
but then there are other tournament formats again like ADCC. Like, if you start a takedown in bounds, you can take that guy down on the
Yeah, you
concrete,
can take him
and
into the
you're still going to
bleachers.
score. So yeah. And again, the ADCC doesn't reset submissions. They let you keep going, even if you end up in the bleachers. They're going to
Of
keep
all
going.
grappling styles that involve submissions, I think you would probably appreciate ADCC the most because they do value the takedown.
But again, ADCC, despite historically being won by quite a few Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioners, not actually a jiu-jitsu tournament.
No.
You know, it's really more of a
grappling
submission.
tournament.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
submission
to be
grappling.
fair, it is called a submission grappling tournament, but there's such a strong wrestling element to it that there's becoming less and less crossover, I think.
That's what Lachlan Giles said at his seminar, name drop.
Yeah.
That he was
that fantastic seminar that we just spent
that
some
I
time
went
down
with
at.
a very handsome fella. It's
Yeah, we're talking to a internationally famous superstar here. Had a role with the People's Champ Lachlan Giles down in
he's so good.
Austin, Texas.
He's so good.
He's
I was
quite
so
good,
nervous.
isn't he?
Oh, he's so good.
Yeah, but fortunately, the Flow crew was there to film it.
Yeah,
and,
that was great
and
of
now
them
it's,
too.
it's saved
Yeah.
for posterity, so
Yeah,
we can
now
show
everyone knows how he could just manhandle me.
that. Has everyone been trying to do the exact same move to you?
No, they haven't because I'm not letting people touch my knees right now. So that was another thing. I got, not to be whatever, but I was like, okay, I just had my ACL replaced 6 or 7 months ago, and this guy tears knees apart. It was on my mind.
I can see why it would.
Yeah,
be.
I was like, I'm not saying it would have made much of a difference, but so Dwayne Sharp was telling me that the Russian style is a little more circular, whereas American is more angular. Is that a correct statement?
What sport were we talking about?
Wrestling.
Wrestling.
That was an interesting transition. there, sir.
Sorry. Before I wanted to do it before I forgot. Didn't want to be in the car and forget.
I would say it's a style. I mean, you cannot doubt everybody's strong and functionally going and everything else, but not as much of a guess you need as an American style, actually. But still, speaking of American style, you cannot say bad because the guy's winning and it's like good wrestlers, one of the best in the world, and always competing against them. It's a trouble you're looking for.
Yeah, America's always in the conversation in the international wrestling scene. Not always at the top of the heap, but always.
I mean, I mean, you cannot say not on the top because see how many Olympic champions and how many world champions, and if you're wrestling American, it's not gonna go easy for you. That's for sure.
But we tend to say the same thing about like Russians and former Soviet countries
For sure.
too. Like the Iranians are really good. Russians are really good. There's a lot of countries that produce
Cubans,
excellent.
Japanese, they
Cubans
picking
are
up
fantastic.
really good. Like Indians, like going up.
Really, India.
Yeah.
Really.
India's got an interesting history of wrestling.
I've only known a small amount about India's martial arts background, but and India has a lot more wrestling than I thought, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is
absolutely.
more like a sand wrestling.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
they.
That sounds awful. I hate.
There is
sand
official beach wrestling style,
Yeah,
actually in Fila.
Really?
Uh-huh.
And now we have beach sambo too.
wrestling. Really?
Really?
Oh yeah. That's So you've got traditional sports sambo, which is of course conducted in a matted area, and then combat sambo, which confuses people kind of. It's almost like MMA, but again, it's in that same it's
But the
in
thing
that
is,
same.
you can score point throwing, right, and taking down.
Well, yeah. So combat sambo scores the same way as sport sambo in terms of submissions or takedowns, but you're allowed to do a huge variety of strikes. And instead of being like tallying up a score as to who got hit more, the points are still scored based on whether you knock your opponent down or not.
Wow.
But the thing is, a lot of people don't know sambo shoes are there's no grip on the sole of the shoe. It's like a leather sock with laces.
Oh, really?
Okay. So the mats in sambo are actually quite smooth. Okay. So this facilitates foot sweeps and clean takedowns. You can't grip into it the same way as you can with a wrestling shoe because there's no grip on the bottom. Okay. But this also means that like certain kicking techniques aren't going to work. You can't plant your feet the same way when you're striking. So combat sambo is like very unique in the way you have to learn how to strike just to accommodate for the slick nature.
The shoes you have.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. Riley Bodycomb one time was like, it's almost like fighting on ice. And I have no idea if that was like if their stated goal is like, oh, you got to get good at fighting on ice because Russia has ice. But yeah, that's what it's like.
Interesting.
Beach sambo totally throws that out the window because now you've got like the extreme grippiness of being in ankle high sand. So yeah,
But no shoes, right?
no shoe. Yeah, it's no shoes in beach sambo. It is kind of weird. Also,
I mean, you don't want to get sand in your shoe, right?
you're gonna get sand in your kurtka because you
kidding,
wear
right?
the jacket top, and like this is just kind of.
I'm getting anxiety talking about this. I hate sand
because you hate sand so
Oh, I
much. Should we
hate
change that? Okay, so what were you going to say about beach wrestling?
Oh, they're still in the sand, right? So like, remember the sandboxes when you were a child,
I
right?
hate them so much.
You tried to take somebody down in the sandbox, right?
I'm like, as soon as I
And pour the sand over their faces.
Of course, you have to put sand.
Maybe that's
Did this
why
happen to you as a child? Maybe are we getting into some trauma?
Probably a little
Blacked
bit.
it out.
Black it all out.
All right.
how
What's
I
the
first got my
sandboxes of
teeth.
Ohio like? Tell us. This one time at the playground.
Many times at the playground.
But speaking of sambo shoes, all the legs, I mean, like leg takedowns and stuff like that could be a little slicker than rubber sole, right? You have.
Yeah, because
You
that's one of
can
the,
just kind of like a sliding in. And basically, we had a problem with the wrestling shoes back then.
Really?
In 80s, of course.
because they're so grippy.
Because we didn't have it.
Oh, wait.
Okay.
But the sambo shoes was available all the way.
Oh,
Okay.
Okay, so, and like Javier said, it was like a leather sack. I mean, there's some kind of lining in the sole. Make sure it's not that like a thin.
Right.
It's kind of like a rough leather.
Yeah. But it's not like if you're used to like a wrestling shoe, which has similar, not identical, but like it's similar to like a normal gym shoe. It's just flat and very form fitting.
Yeah.
Okay. So like when you have wrestling shoes on, you can kind of dig your toes into the mat. And you can use that grip on the shoe for traction. If you've never experienced it before, give somebody who's got really good top pressure in jiu-jitsu, give them a pair of wrestling shoes and tell them to do exactly what they normally do. And the level of increase on their pressure because they're able to drive and grip into the mat is so much greater. Okay. But sambo shoes don't have any of that. Like they serve this fantastic purpose of protecting your foot, just like a wrestling shoe does.
Right.
But it's smooth, so your feet slide around differently, and you have to get used to moving like that. Now, sambo has some roots with judo. It's a lengthy conversation about how much, but a lot of the foot sweep techniques work in judo specifically because your foot will slide along the mat.
Right.
Okay, and you grip with your toes in judo to add traction. Okay, and when you want your foot to slide, you stop gripping. This gets kind of complicated.
Sounds smart.
Yeah, it sounds very smart. There's even talk about how like the way the tatami, the being able to sweep with the flow of the tatami instead of against it, like getting
really?
the very
It's a dry grass, right?
yeah, exactly. It's a woven mat, and there's a smooth direction and a going with the grain and going against the grain.
Wow.
But regardless, so the sambo shoes provides the same kind of protection to your toes and your feet generally as wrestling shoes do, but it still facilitates the ability to do foot sweeps. Whereas if you're in a wrestling shoe, if the foot sweep doesn't work right, your foot gets caught on the mat kind of, and that's where sometimes ankle or knee injuries will happen to guys. Because,
And the older sambo shoes get, it's like a slipper it gets, right? Like after all.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like bright and polished.
Yeah, I love my sambo shoes, but they're also not quite as durable as as wrestling
Not
shoes. Yeah, you'll definitely wear through them faster.
Not really, right? Because all the stitches and everything else is like there is no glue in it, no nothing, like just stitched over.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a reason we don't walk around in leather-soled moccasins, because they don't hold up quite as well.
You have those like blue and red, probably.
Yeah, usually they're blue and red, but they've made alternate colors too. Like I've seen black and purple and green,
black or plain brown.
Yeah, I've seen the old brown
not
ones.
Not as good looking.
No, but hey, they still do the job. Like natural brown, like just cow leather brown.
Right.
I've seen pairs. Never owned those.
I remember my grandfather was fixing it for me. He was a tailor.
Okay.
And when it's was falling apart, I was like flipping them inside out, and he was just stitching all the way around again for me just to keep it up.
Right. So at your wrestling club, does everyone have to wear shoes on the mat, or
No.
you jiu-jitsu guys are allowed to go barefoot?
But you know what the funny thing is, like the people realize they need the wrestling shoes, and after a couple of times they just buy it.
Yep.
And it's handy, it's safe for you.
No, it's like I said, that's the thing that drives me nuts. Because whenever I talk to people about wrestling shoes, they're like, "Oh no, like reasons," and I'm like, "What reasons? Like, why are you opposed to having shoes in jiu-jitsu? Like, it's totally safer for your feet, and you just got to choose."
Funny wearing the gi and the shoes, right?
I do it all the time, though.
My buddy Joe and I, whenever we do wrestling, we throw the shoes on. It's just safer,
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like I said, I took a gnarly toe injury that I did not have to take if I had just had shoes on.
Are you down to 9?
No, it's still there.
Still there?
It's still there. It's the big toe on my right foot. I never showed you pictures of this. Oh my God! I usually like grossing people out like that.
Oh, that's awesome. I look forward to not seeing that ever.
Oh, okay. Well,
Should trim your toenails and then you can buy a size smaller.
I have plenty small feet already. I don't know that I want to go smaller. Yeah,
So there's a cotton balls comes to place. You can feel it up in the front.
There we go. Yeah, now like even these shoes, like look at all that space in there. I do that with my Sambo shoes. Actually, I order them slightly bigger so that when you try to grip onto them, there's no foot there.
Or do not tie them. From any foot lock, you can slide your foot out.
Slide it right out. Yeah.
That's one thing I learned from a Josh Hinger seminar. Is like a little rule trick. He's like, "Hey, did you know there's no rule for tying how long to tie your pants?"
Wait, say
Josh Hinger said, he goes, in the IBJJF you have, what is it, how many seconds to tie your belt?
Oh, yeah. Like they cut off a certain amount of time.
He goes, there's no rule for how long it takes to tie your pants.
So if you need a breather, he's saying like...
Are you serious?
I guess. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's what Hinger said.
What if you didn't make it?
I think...
Well, I think your belt.
Yeah.
They'll penalize you. They'll penalize you if you...
Advantage point?
I think it's an actual penalty.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's a negative. But I have to double check that. I have never been hit with it.
But how many seconds do you have?
It's
under a minute, I think.
Like
it's like 30 or 20
seconds.
Oh, that's
it's probably a guesstimate. Let's be honest.
Well, yeah, the ref doesn't actually break out a timer that I've ever seen. But like if you're taking your sweet time putting on your belt, you'll definitely be penalized for it.
But it's always falling off, right?
Not if you tie it right.
Yeah, not if you tie it right.
Yeah. But there's some strategic elements to that where guys are deliberately wanting their belt to fall off. It allows you to take a breather mid match. If it's tied loose, the opponent can't grip it as well. That's actually one of the things I like about Sambo. The way the Kurtka is designed is
there's a hole.
Yeah, it's got the hole, so the belt can't really fall off or anything.
I wish we had that.
But it would also remove all those beautiful worm guard techniques. You wouldn't
Yay. I mean,
what's the worm guard?
This is complicated.
You know more about it than I do.
Just
that's
quick.
For sure. Yeah.
So
lacing the lapel around people's bodies.
Okay,
yeah, the way the jacket comes open, you deliberately open your opponent's jacket and use the bottom of it against them.
I just didn't know name of it.
It's pretty amazing. I just don't care.
Right. Well, yeah, like I was saying before, like that's a technique that I can only ever do in gi jiu-jitsu matches. So even though it's pretty cool looking and it's definitely
effective.
Yeah, it's definitely effective. Yeah. Like Keenan was just using it in Euros. But yeah, like it takes a lower priority on my.
If they don't know
list.
how to tie the belt, right?
Well, no, because you can pull it out above their belt. There's no, like the other thing that worries me about that is it's one rule change away from that entire system being completely nullified. Because all they have to say I'm not saying the IBJJF's going to, but all they would really have to say is you're not allowed to deliberately open your opponent's gi. What are you going to do with your worm guard then? Like, you got to wait until it falls open?
Yeah.
What kind of rule is that?
Well, I'm just saying, like
that's what they would have to come up with. So exactly, it's hard to make a rule against it.
Or you can do it or you cannot.
Yeah.
It's just-
right.
Then when are you not allowed to use a lapel for other things?
For example, in Sambo, you're allowed to make almost any grip that you want, but it has to be belt and above. You're not allowed to grab the ends of the belt, and you're not allowed to grab the skirt tail of the jacket.
Okay.
You're just strictly forbidden. Okay. You could very easily implement a similar rule in jiu-jitsu, and worm guards out of there. Okay. Not saying they would. I was just saying, it's something where a minor rule change could completely mess that up.
But you still can grab below the belt and pull it over, right?
Yeah. Currently, like, all that stuff's totally good. That's another thing that's like kind of unique about jiu-jitsu is the emphasis on pants grabbing. Like that threw me for a loop because I came from judo where
pants grabbing.
Well, no, it's not as emphasized as much. Like once you're on the ground, you can grip the pants to like move the guy around and things like that. But like, you're not going to sit there battling for like 3 minutes for like a cuff grip on a pants. So making the transition sometimes, it's little rules changes and little subtleties that really surprise you.
Like the old horse collar grip, and you're not allowed to like in judo when they go flat on their stomach, you can't
grab the back
and make them do like a cobra stretch.
Yeah, you're not allowed to attack.
Yeah. I got disqualified once for that.
Sounds like
Wait,
you're not allowed to do anything in the judo.
That is one thing
is a
Coach Alex
fairly
has said to me
restrictive
once or
rule
twice.
set.
He goes, in judo, you're not allowed to do anything, right?
Anymore, right?
Nothing.
It's changed a lot. Like I unfortunately, so I started doing judo pretty seriously right before the major rule change that took out like leg grabs and a lot of those techniques. And I thought I was pretty decent at judo starting off, but not good, just pretty decent. But I was coming at it from like a wrestling background, so like a lot of those rule changes just like screwed over the style I had already been developing. So yeah, I didn't compete in judo very much because I didn't like the new rules, honestly. And now those new rules are no longer new. Like we've been dealing with them for about a decade now.
Over 10 years.
Yeah. Well, I want to say 2011 is when they started implementing them. So it's almost 10 years. Like we're on 9 years now.
Yeah, I haven't met.
And what was the main reason by your point of view?
So I have two perspectives on this. One was what I thought was the reason, and the other is what I've been told was the reason by Neil Adams, who is very high in international judo.
He's the commentator when you watch.
Right,
Judo
the voice of
Olympics.
judo.
The voice of judo.
Okay, but he's in those meetings with the International Olympic Committee and whatnot. So I thought the main reason that they were attempting to remove leg grabs from judo was because of the success of certain wrestling styles that had come in. The Mongolians did very well.
I was going to say that.
Yeah. Various countries had more wrestling-looking judo, and also just in terms of knowing how to defend that, it tends to encourage a more bent-over posture, which reduces the use of some of the more beautiful, high-scoring upright throws. Okay, so if you want to see like beautiful classic Japanese judo, it kind of involves both players being in a largely upright posture to see those particular foot sweeps and whatnot. And if you're defending leg attacks, you're going to naturally assume a more bent over posture.
But it's still nice defense you can use against.
Oh yeah, there were still so many
flips and throws and
so many beautiful throws that have been removed from judo by this rule change, like Teguruma and all the.
What's wrong with the fireman's carry?
Right.
Well, now
they do it with sleeves. Now
it's funny though,
looking really cool.
Rules change always produces innovation, and people have figured out how to do firemen's without having to grab legs. But so like I said, my perspective on it as a relative novice in judo, not being in those meetings, obviously, and just as like kind of a spectator fan of the sport, it seemed like a reaction to certain styles being successful that weren't what they wanted from judo. Right. And that was the narrative that I had heard from other people.
It's like middle finger under the table, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
But when I talked to, because somebody asked Neil when he was doing a clinic up at Wahadachi Judo in Wisconsin, they're like, hey, what was the reason for the removal of leg touches? Why did we lose so many good throws and whatnot? And what had actually happened, according to him, is, and I still have the shirt from back in the day. Wrestling was on the chopping block, which was obscene. The IOC was actually talking about taking out one of the oldest sports in the world.
Arguably the oldest, right?
Right. Well, running might be.
Well,
We probably learned how to run from a tiger before we learned.
I said sport. Running against another human being is not a sport; it's a skill.
Okay. We've only offended half the podcast. So. No. Yeah, between running and wrestling and climbing and
there,
swimming,
right?
these are the
Throwing
oldest sports,
things.
undeniably.
And basically, Olympics started from wrestling. Right?
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
But the
Two
Olympics.
naked guys in a parterre. Right?
Well, they were Greek after all.
Yeah, that's the old way. Shout out to Costas.
He always preferred to have less clothes when he grappled.
All right, yeah. Strict, like there's no gi, and then there's no clothes.
That's right. That's why we had to ship him off to Colorado.
He's safer there. Happy there.
But the gi,
Everyone is-
it's close in Japanese, right?
Yeah, that's. But anyhow, sorry, got distracted by making fun of people. So wrestling is on the chopping block. They're discussing removing it. There's a huge movement, save Olympic wrestling. Like I said, I've still got my shirt from that era. And I didn't realize the timing of it. They were basically like, people find this boring. It's not exciting. Like nobody knows what's going on. And oh, by the way, we apparently have another thing. It's called judo, but it looks just like wrestling to the spectators. They just wear a different uniform. So they were like, we almost got rid of wrestling. You guys are next. And judo, like the heads of judo were like, what can we do to both separate our sport so that people don't think it's just wrestling, air quotes here, and also make things, as aesthetically pleasing and easy to understand for the viewing audience. Because terrible though it may be, the Olympics is about that. You got to put butts in seats and on couches.
Yep.
So that was one of the choices they made, to make it less similar to wrestling and to encourage big, beautiful throws that people can be like, obviously that guy won because he threw the other guy on his back.
Right.
So
But how many people come in to watch from the street, I would say?
Right.
If they have some kind of interest and they know what's going on, right? So probably
Man,
that's most of the people sitting and watching.
Right. I don't have those numbers, but what I do know, strangely enough, is that like the most watched sports are the ones that are considered most aesthetically pleasing. So like gymnastics, figure skating in the Winter Olympics, things like that. And a big part of that is people are looking at it because it's like, ooh, type moments. And judo has that same kind of effect with a big throw. Wrestling does too, obviously. But so it was really just like a big influencing factor was what we're doing to the uneducated looks just like wrestling in pajamas. And wrestling was about to get chopped from the Olympics. We don't want to be next. How can we make ourselves more different? And that was one of the choices that was made. That was a major deciding factor, was not wanting to be taken out of the Olympics. So I guess that's worked out so far.
Right. So far.
Yeah.
I mean,
In both cases, right?
Yeah. But again, like God, like I can't personally imagine Olympics without wrestling. Like this is for me kind of like the heart and soul. But other people are like, Olympics, that's all the other sports that they do when they're not doing gymnastics, right?
right. Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah.
Or taekwondo, right?
Man, we got taekwondo, and now 2020 Olympics in Tokyo, we're gonna have karate.
What's the difference in that then?
Man, okay, so
Jason,
somebody else can explain this better.
I know this is Grappler Union right now, Striker Union, but
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
Somebody else can explain that better than I can, obviously. In fact, I'm trying to get him on the podcast. But again, similar sort of thing. I can only imagine that if it stays in the Olympics, at some point somebody's be like, "Do we really need two sports where they're dressed in a uniform and kicking each other?" But yeah, right now, not a concern, because they're like, oh, this is the fresh new thing that we're bringing in, and they've been trying to get karate in the Olympics
as long as they
for a
keep
number
ribbon
of years.
dancing, I don't care.
Oh,
They better keep the ribbon dancing.
rhythmic gymnastics. Yeah, I mean, it is beautiful stuff.
It is beautiful.
Let me ask you. Sorry, this may seem like a weird question, but most of the guys that I've worked with that do sambo, and quite a few guys that I've worked with that have like a wrestling background from like Russia or whatnot. They utilize a lot of gymnastic movement in warm up, which is kind of unusual in the American style. Like we're way more like jumping jacks and push ups and running and whatnot. Do you integrate that in your?
Yes, of course. It's a lot, like you're saying.
Okay. Now what? Explain to our listeners who can't do handsprings and things like that necessarily. What's the value of that you see for wrestling, and why do you use it?
Actually, today I had a conversation with Patrick, one of the guys coming over, and his daughter. She does gymnastics.
Okay.
And his son does jiu-jitsu with a very, very good instructor, I hear.
Let me guess.
Yeah.
It's,
Who could it be? Oh. He's a devastatingly
hockey-looking
handsome,
player
toothless
one,
fellow.
right?
Devastatingly good-looking, hockey-looking player. Getting conflicting responses.
Can't even ice skate, but I look like a hockey player right now.
There you go. Is he internationally famous?
Not yet.
Not yet.
He's working on it right
That's
now.
right. That's right. I'm trying to build the empire.
That's why he's bringing people here. So just
Right.
That's
Exactly.
Right. That's right. I'm using you, coach.
That's totally
so
fine.
what you're saying to Patrick.
think about the gymnastics. All of the moves they use, it's like a building your core, your movement
Right.
in any highly difficult position you throw in yourself in, right? So you know how to flip, you know how to roll, you know how to stand on one leg, keep the balance on your arms, on your head, on anything. Plus when you're in the air, right? Plus it's building like your muscles and everything else, and you stretching yourself the way you can use it against anybody.
Right.
Right. So this is like I would say like a basic exercises you can get for yourself just to go in any grappling, in any sport basically, and it's going to help you during your life, like in any situation you can use it.
Right. Yeah, that's one of those things I've found that consistently true. You know, pretty much across the board is the use of grappling exercise or gymnastics exercises for grappling. It's very much.
It's not like highly leveled exercises from gymnastics. I mean, like
handsprings,
basic
head
flip,
springs,
basic roll,
yeah.
basic like a cartwheel, like one arm cartwheel, like imitating all the throws, like using the cartwheel, like flipping back, like suplexes or stuff like that.
Right.
I mean, like you have no problem doing the moves after all. Okay, somebody taking your leg, but you did some gymnastics, some poses, some like even speaking of yoga, like you stand on your leg for like 30 minutes, like
What is that, warrior's pose, I think?
yeah, whatever. Or tree pose, like you can throw your leg up and hold it. I mean, everything, whatever you can imagine, is gonna help you to build all the good things around you.
Right. And then, so you work at Evolution.
Evolution.
Now that's a fitness facility as well.
Right.
Now the focus there is kettlebells. Do they have general weights?
That's the main thing
main thing
they're
is-
going. I never seen so many kettlebells in my life.
Never. It's absurd. It's almost like
It's
looks like a
serious.
kettlebell
All
store.
colors, all
Different
like,
weights and sizes.
I'm not sure about like every 5 pounds probably.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I
sure.
assume.
They measure them in pood, don't they?
I know, right? I don't know, right?
Growing up in Russia, like I thought there's only 2 kind of kettlebells, 32 kilos and 16.
Okay.
I was wrong.
Yeah, I've seen a huge range of them.
And
Yeah,
one color is black.
black, only
Did you
black.
grow up
Yeah,
working with
right.
kettlebells?
Not,
really?
not too much.
Not too much?
Not too much. But we had some, of course. More like parallel bars and gymnastics. And I'm not
Rings.
sure how you, push-ups, pull-ups, whatever you
Okay.
can get. And I'm not sure what's the name of we called it like a Swedish wall.
Yeah, the climbing wall where it's got
With the bars, right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
That was a good, one of the main things to train, like even like for your stomach muscles, like you pick up the higher level of the bars and just
hook your feet in.
sitting upright
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all kind of stuff, like hanging like a flag on it. And
Yeah,
stuff.
that's another one of those things that I kind of like universally associate with like if you go to a sambo, judo, wrestling room in Russia, if you see it, those bars are always on
Basically
the wall.
in every gym.
Yeah, absolutely every gym.
school has it.
Like
Yes, every school
oh, wow.
has it.
That I didn't realize. I guess it makes sense, but yeah, I don't see a lot of video footage
It's
of,
like so many
like high
things you
schoolers in Russia.
can, so many things you can do around it. So
Right. Do you guys have that?
no.
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 I got
He
excited
does
for a
have one of
minute.
those.
And
what
the
are-
ropes actually to climb up.
Oh, yeah, ropes
That
are
was
great.
the main thing in the wrestling room.
No, and that's great for grip and
Right,
for
right,
body
right.
strength. And yeah,
They do have
core
that
strength.
Jacob's ladder thing, which I've never done because somebody's always on it. It's that ladder that rotates. Imagine a
Oh,
stairmaster.
you got to balance on it?
No,
Or-
I don't think
No,
there's
no,
much
no.
of a balancing on it, but you're just
walk it.
climbing on
You didn't
these.
lose much not doing it.
Yeah.
Jacob's. is it like a
It's
stair
like a
machine almost?
rotating stair machine, but you're like climbing.
Okay,
on
I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It doesn't
I
look
hate
that
doing
hard now.
stairs.
I know, right?
That was my least favorite part of wrestling. Actually,
Was running stairs?
Yeah, like I was.
But
okay.
running uphill, prove me wrong.
Yeah,
That's a good exercise.
No, it's a great exercise. I just hated it.
Running is a bad exercise. Right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, like I had to learn how to grapple because I'm not a very good runner.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah,
So yeah, when it comes to fight or flight,
But
I have
at
to
some
fight.
point
Yeah,
it helps.
yeah, I'm
right?
fighting
Yeah,
you.
for sure.
Yeah. I think 40-yard dash, favorite like self-defense technique, right?
There you go. Yeah.
But after that, we're fighting. If you catch me within 40 yards, we're fighting.
Shit,
You pull
Here we
the
go.
guard, you good.
That's right. No way, coach. Duck under.
Nice. Do you have a favorite takedown or favorite takedown series that you like to do? Like, I don't know if I want. You don't necessarily give out secrets,
I
but
already warned Jason. I'm not doing it today, but I do. We can stop by other day, and
Yeah, for sure.
obviously we can do that.
sure. Well, I think the better plan is for me to stop by sometime.
Yeah, you would really like it. You'd really like
More
it.
than welcome.
Okay, awesome.
And bring anybody you want.
I'll bring Zito. That'll be the best.
No.
That's where he draws the line. Is there a place to find your schedule or anything, coach? Or
It's
just- should
so
just be
easy you
looking
can remember.
okay.
It's like every day of the week, 5:30 to 6:30. Sunday 9 a.m.
That's
There you go.
definitely
That's it.
easy enough.
You have a
You just mentioned you going like to wrestling class, just climb upstairs. Nobody gonna charge you anything.
Oh, nice.
Just like and nice thing, you don't have to be a gym member to join the club.
Okay, cool. So yeah,
It's like one of the good things we have there.
that's a great arrangement.
I mean, if you want to join the club and lift
Yeah, by all
weights,
means,
so
yeah.
you're more than welcome. But you don't have to do that.
And as we've stated, plainly, open to all schools, all
Yeah.
affiliations.
yeah. It's really
Anyone who wants to
really
add
neat
some
how
wrestling
many
to
of
their
us are on the mat at times with small group of people and
Yeah, no,
from
I've
different schools. It's
I've
really
seen a
cool.
couple of pictures, from your Facebook and the other guys that I
And
know
like
have
always,
posted.
like somebody, like we can have 10 people, we can have one person. In the case of one person, we have a personal training.
Right. I always love when that happens. It's like, a free
Yeah.
private lesson for this guy.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you didn't feel like doing anything, right? And you wish somebody else coming over, right?
Right. Yeah. Sometimes it'd be like, I would just like one more body,
one
so
more.
so I don't have to be the one that suffers through all the arm bars
Let's
and
meditate
chokes.
for an hour. Right?
I've never done that before, but I definitely have been like, let's talk some philosophy and strategy.
Like, let's do it, right?
When I first started teaching little kids, there was a couple times when I would only have like one little kid in the class, and I'm like, "What do I do with this person who comes up
With
to my
one
shins?"
tiny child,
I'm like,
yeah.
I go get a medicine ball.
I've not to brag, but like the kids class I teach, I very fortunately have. I don't think I've ever had less than 3.
Oh, that's
but
handy.
unfortunately, 3 is an uneven number. So now it's like, well, okay, we're gonna round robin here and work somebody in. But I think I would just spend the entire time working like open guard, airplaning them.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna get swept.
Yeah,
Oh, you're
yeah,
gonna get
that's a whole lot of what that was. Yeah,
Depends on the age bracket. So like,
There's always easy ways out.
yeah, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
spin around on the medicine ball, do a knee on belly on the medicine ball, sprawls, jump over the medicine ball.
I'll have them work shadow wrestling
That's right.
or
Vision
cartwheels.
Quest.
Do we feel that this is the greatest wrestling movie of all time?
I have a confession to make. I've never watched Vision Quest.
Get out. Actually, I'm pretty sure I threatened you the last time you
did,
said that.
you
Why
did.
haven't you improved that?
I just haven't gotten around to it.
It's so easy, though.
I know. I just finished Manhunter. Or Mindhunter. That was cool. You
Oh,
know, I'm
okay.
like, to watch like an old cheesy 80s movie. Pretty much all of anything I watch on television now is with my wife. So if I want to stay married, we will not watch
Remember,
Vision
we
Quest.
agreed no names.
That's right.
My wife is a pretty name,
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah.
You're not in trouble, right?
No.
No, he's not. Yeah. Not yet.
Not yet.
Does she listen to the show every time you're on?
Absolutely not.
Oh, see.
She tried to listen to the one episode that I was the guest on, and she's like, "I've heard all your stories before. Why would I listen to this again?"
It's like I know how you tell this story.
But they don't know, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
She's like, "I'm
Just how
not
it always
interested in
works.
grappling at all."
my wife really isn't either, but she still does me the favor of like sharing it out, and I'm like, who are you sharing this to that isn't also a friend with me that might possibly be? But you know what? Do it.
Yeah, it's the cuteness of it, right? She means well.
So, Jason, got anything coming up anytime soon, competition-wise?
I mean, I have
any international travel in the near future?
Yeah, actually. But I have one more month to go until I get the green light on my knee. Coach Alex has been awesome enough to allow me to grapple with being careful with my
your
knees,
restrictions. Right.
Don't touch the man's knee. Oh, thank God.
Do you wear a giant red knee brace?
I do not. Luckily, just again, everybody's real cool over there. But in June, wife and I are going to go for her birthday. We're going to go to Iceland for a day, and then England for the rest of the week. So I plan on going to Mjolnir Jiu-Jitsu and dancing with those fools. If you haven't seen that video,
birthday, right?
Yeah, we're going to go see Duran Duran on her.
Oh wow,
on her birthday. Yeah.
That's an interesting trip you got planned. What are you do in England?
Oh, first of all, I'm gonna train with Hodger, and I'm gonna show him how to do jiu-jitsu.
Right, clearly.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna go to Carlson Gracie London, which Junior has affiliates around the world. And whenever I try to talk to him about his travels, the only thing he really wants to say is that he's tired. He doesn't really
doesn't want to get into it.
Yeah, what's there to tell? It's the same thing he does all the time. But when I've talked to him about London, he just shakes his head and he goes, "Those guys are crazy." So I'm looking forward to that. Apparently, the guy who runs apparently the guy who runs the school there is at Wild Man. So. Yeah.
I seem to say.
I know. I'm going to have a crazy off with these guys and see what happens.
Right. No, that sounds like a fantastic trip,
yeah,
man.
I'm looking forward to it.
I mean, any excuse to travel is a good excuse for me, but yeah,
for sure.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. You got a couple big things coming up.
Yeah.
Like you have a seminar and a tournament.
So, yes. This podcast is going to be released on Tuesday, so like not like this is like a huge advertisement for what's going on. But this coming weekend, I'm going to be heading out east. I've got a seminar I'm going to be teaching in New Jersey.
New Jersey.
Yeah, at a friend's academy. And that's going to be focused primarily on leg locks, although I'm going to hit them with a little bit of wrestling because I cannot stand just not teaching takedowns at a seminar.
Nice.
And then I've got that'll be on Friday night. I've got the Saturday just kind of all to myself. Gonna train a little bit with some friends in New York and whatnot. Then Sunday in Allentown. The finishers submission only tournament. They're doing what's called Survivor Series. It's going to be a quintet style team tournament format. But I don't know if people are too familiar with quintet. It's a pretty interesting rule set. Typically, quintet teams are composed of guys of different style or of different weights rather, up to a certain weight limit. Okay. I don't know offhand what the average team size is, like weight limit wise, but it's like you have 800 pounds to work with, fill it out with as big and as small of guys as you want, break it up in any way. So the way they're doing this tournament is instead of doing that weight class, everyone has to be 145 or under. I think there's a pound weight allowance, but they're still basically using the same quintet rules. So no heel hooks, all of their submissions legal. Guy who wins stays in until he's eliminated. Matches are 8 minutes. If it goes to a draw, both guys get eliminated.
Wow.
Okay, so that's essentially quintet style rules. The only other change to that is, and this I don't want to be like this won't ever happen, but this is like very specific circumstances. So each team is 5 people. If we get down to the last person on both teams while they're competing against each other, and it goes to a draw, the draw is determined by an EBI by 3 rounds of EBI overtime. Okay, but it's not between the 2 guys that go to the draw. It's between one person chosen by the opposing team from the other 4 guys that are left.
That's messed up.
Yeah, so you could be like, that guy we know for a fact had a really hard round. We're going to choose him because we're hoping he's still tired.
Right.
Or you could be like, that guy probably trains EBI overtime extensively because he's a 10th Planet guy, or
Sure.
we watched his match and he had really good armbar or back or escapes. We don't want him. We're going to choose somebody else. Or you could be like, we definitely want that guy. Like, he got hurt. We know he's the weak link. So in that weird, I don't want to say unlikely because watch all the rounds on that way. Just like I said it. But in that weird circumstance where we have a double draw at the finals for both guys, that's the way they decide the winner is 3 rounds of EBI overtime.
And then if
do you have a limitation on the time to pick the person?
Yeah, like I don't know how much time they're going to give in between to actually
As
choose.
long as you can tie your belt, right?
Right.
No, it's no gi. It's no gi, so that's not a factor.
As long as it takes to get out of your sweaty rash guard, which
Right.
is a
Can
lot
be
of times-
disgustingly long, especially as your shoulders get bad with
no
age
kidding, right?
and injuries.
You have to be ranked to compete there?
So the teams aren't assembled necessarily by rank. Anyone could put together a team and compete. I'm actually so we have two separate 10th Planet teams that are competing. One is called 10th Planet Finishers. It's a lot of the majority of the guys are from like the East Coast. So like Ray Leone, who's from 10th Planet New York, and J.M. Holland, who's from 10th Planet Bethlehem. Again, they still have to meet the 145er limit, and then like Ricky Lule is coming in from California. So like that's their super team, and then 10th Planet Montreal put together a team of guys. I don't believe they're all from Montreal, but that's the team name they chose. My team actually, Henzo Gracie put together a team of guys as well, and I believe all those guys are either from Henzo's or from TriStar, which is a Henzo affiliate. And then my team is composed of just like the most ragtag group of guys.
Nice.
None of us train together regularly.
Are you guys the Ronins?
No, we are called the Other Guys.
Ah, nice. Great movie.
Yeah, no, exactly. And yeah, so like really skilled group. I'm actually the only guy that's not from the East Coast. Most of those guys are from like Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey area. So I have the longest trip.
Nice.
But yeah, so looking forward to that. I've never done a team style tournament before. All my, like obviously wrestling has a team element to it, but like literally where the performance of the guy immediately before you can affect the way you go into a match. Did he go the distance and wear that guy
What's
down?
the strategy?
It's going to vary depending on who you're up against, because since it's submission only, there's no points to be scored. So there's going to be situations where it's like, okay, this guy is a real problem. We need to eliminate him. Is it worth maybe eliminating one of our guys by forcing it into a draw? Do we think we can submit him? Is he only dangerous in one position? Okay, we want to put in a guy that's best in that position. Things like that really play an interesting element. Unlike a lot of jiu-jitsu matches where it's like, I have one guy. Maybe I've got 5 guys in a bracket, but I've only got one guy I've really got to worry about, or like super fight format where you're literally preparing for just one dude.
Right.
So yeah, it adds a really interesting element because there's so many different ways that the individual matches could play out. We've seen other quintet like Lachlan at Kinetic.
Right.
He was the first guy in, and he took out every other guy on the opposing team because he was that much better than them. Gordon Ryan had a crazy run at an actual quintet where I'm sorry, was it Gordon or Craig? Jeez, I can't even remember now. But like he ran through a whole team on his own because again, he's fantastic. So
it have to be like 4 people, right?
it's 5 people on a
5,
team.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, 5 people on a team.
If you have like a short, like in 3 or something, so it still
Oh gosh,
can compete, right?
let's hope that doesn't happen because I don't know.
No, I mean like they still can compete against 5, right?
Oh, that'd be terrible. But yeah, I guess they'd have to do it if somebody missed weight or got injured or something. So let's cross our fingers that doesn't happen.
Which in this sport
Definitely
all the time.
does.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, really excited to give that a try. Never competed under that rule set before, or even any other type of team, grappling. So yeah.
That's gonna be cool.
It's gonna be an interesting
Is it
day.
streamed anywhere or no?
I'm not sure how they're. I'm going to definitely release the details as soon as I get them worked out. I'm not sure how they're handling the streaming of this one, whether it's going to be live on YouTube or whether they're going to record it and release it later. So as soon as I get those details, I'll let everyone know. So yeah, and then be back to Chicago to work on the next thing.
Nice. Nice.
What about you? You got anything big coming up?
No.
Getting anyone
Just
ready for
like
major competition?
People
and
come in
everything?
training, getting ready for something.
All right. So if people want to get in contact with you, do you have Instagram, Facebook? What's the best
I
way
have
to?
Instagram, Facebook.
Okay, what's your Instagram handle?
Matalex, Matalex.
Okay. All right, cool. We'll definitely post that up on the show so everyone can look you up and find out and hopefully give it a try.
Yeah, but if you're out that way and you can make it out that way to any of these wrestling practices, it'll change your game. It'll make even a dummy like me or start to figure this wrestling stuff out.
So humble. All right, guys.
Actually, I'm really honored to be here. So thank you guys for having me.
Thank you for coming in. You bring it.
And
Thanks for coming, Coach.
actually, it's went easy for me. It's like I wouldn't say I was nervous about it, but
Never done anything like it before.
anything like
Right,
that.
right.
So
No, it's
it
just
was
a
like easy
conversation, man.
conversation with the headphones on. So
Well, we're glad you come
You're
in.
lucky I cannot reach you far. So
His squeeze is something else.
Short arms, right?
I look forward to finding out in person at some point.
Definitely
in the
one of
very near
my.
future.
I've had the honor to have a lot of coaches in my day, and you're definitely tied for number one with favorite coach I've ever had in all of martial arts for sure. He's an awesome person as well as a good coach. We have a good time.
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, thank you, coach.
And Jason, thank you for both facilitating this and also playing guest host.
Hey, I expect my robe when I get number 5. If,
Yeah, there you
if
go.
you bring me back for number 5, I want my number 5 robe or rash guard or
Guest host champion.
That's right.
Reigning, defending, undefeated. All right.
Thanks,
All right, guys. Gonna take off.
All right.
Bye.
Yep.
Bye.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. For more information about Grappler Union Podcast, you could visit us at our website at grapplerunion.com. You can follow us on Instagram at Grappler Union. Please like us on Facebook. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes. And all of our episodes are available on our YouTube channel. Say what?
Be sure to subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe to all that shit. You got to do another take, right?
Oh.